I'm Alcott Zubek with Pivot Point, and I have the distinct honor of supporting schools all throughout the US and work with our fantastic distributor in Canada, Pivot Point Canada, which today we have a fantastic representation of um, our friends from the North. So on the call today, I want to introduce to you guys Leslie Carino. And Leslie is the Director of Operations for Marka College in Canada. And Marka College is one of the largest school groups in Canada. And I am a big fan on play of words. And one of my favorite things about Marka College is their tagline, which is "Be Remarkable," which I think is always makes me smile big when I see "Be Remarkable." So we have Erin joining us from CUNY today as well. But Leslie's here to kind of talk us through her experiences today and share some best practices and thought processes on how they've incorporated Money by CUNY into their curriculum. I want to take a little bit of a step back, if you don't mind, Leslie, and get started here and kind of pose a question to you. One of the things that I think is unique, not most unique, about Marka College. I think you guys were one of the first folks in North America to really harness the whole concept of business education, and really made that a cornerstone, business education on the whole. So we're going to talk about CUNY today and financial literacy, but also, operations and salon operations and all of those things that set our students up for success. But can you talk a little bit about what that motivation was? Like, what was it? What kind of drove you guys to think about, hey, in our industry right now, we have a responsibility to share business education as a general kind of complement to all of your other kind of content education.
Absolutely. So at Marka, we have quite a large network of salons, spas, and barbershops that we work with in partnership with our school to transition our students from education right into their careers. And we spend a lot of time connecting directly with the owners of those businesses to find out what they're looking for. We want to set up our students for success so that they are going right into the industry with a toolbox of skills, not only on the hairstyling or barbering side, but the business side of things. There was a huge gap in our industry when transitioning from school to their careers in goal setting, retail goals, service goals, and just an appreciation and understanding for what business looks like. A lot of our students, we have a huge range of students, but they do fall into the Gen Z and millennial category. I'm a millennial myself, so I have a good understanding for this. And it's not enough anymore just to tell someone something. They need to have that understanding and the why behind it. So when we were approached with money, we thought, oh my goodness, this is such a great segue from school to salon to their futures, and to really fill that gap that we had in the market, connecting one side of things to the other and elevating what our students were bringing to the salon with them, not only their physical skills, but their financial planning and goal setting.
That's great. That's great. One of the things that for the folks that aren't familiar with Marka College that may be joining our call from the lower 48 today is, Marka College is a very long and storied history of success, particularly on the creative side in the world of beauty education in Canada, and obviously making this decision to add this to your content is was a bit of a shift for you guys, right? And so in terms of creating that point of difference in your marketplace, but when you and your leadership team sat down and you made that decision about money by community, what are some of the factors that really stood out to you that said, hey, these are the things that really resonate with me, that say this is the right program to introduce to our students at this time?
Absolutely. I think it is so diverse in the content that it's talking about entrepreneurship, which is such a big thing right now, especially in Canada. We're seeing a huge increase in salon suites instead of going the traditional route into a salon. And it's that extra understanding. It's talking about the taxes. It's talking about planning ahead, what all those costs are going to be. And it really is a huge eye opener for our students to make a future plan on where their next steps are going. Maybe they thought Salon Suite was something that they were super interested in. And by just simply going through all of the modules that Money has to offer, it really sets them up for success for what their next steps are and opens their eyes to items that they might not have thought of that are really key in being a business owner.
I think we learned yesterday. So yesterday we hosted the Gene Madeline Aveda team, and I think one of the things we learned from them during their admissions process is that most prospective students come in and say, hey, I'm ready to open my own business, and hey, I'm ready to go into a salon suite. And one of the byproducts of them consuming that content from community is that maybe it changed their mind a little bit and said, you know what, it's not going to be as easy as I possibly thought it was going to be. This is not something I'm going to walk into and think that I'm just going to get all this revenue and not have other responsibilities. And so I think that's a really fair point. Here's what's interesting to me. I think in the global scheme of things, whether we're talking about the US or talking about Canada, I mean, the trends are the trends. The same trends that are happening here in the States are happening in Canada as well. So I think it's a really, really great thing. I think one of the things, and Aaron, and I hope that I'm not saying this out of turn, but one of the great things about what Community is doing, particularly for the Canadian community, I know that they're in the process right now of actually developing a Canadian tax specific module.
Yes.
Because obviously, as much as we are alike, we are that much different as well. So, so the great news about that is that, I think that will be even an even better benefit for your students, that there will be that Canadian tax specific module. So I know that they're actively working on that right now. So I'm excited to see how that turns out, and excited to see how another layer of impact for your students can be.
Absolutely.
So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So hopefully you'll experience some of that trend too, is like get some students, recent graduates into salons and get a mentor, and let's see if we can kind of shift that trend up north as well. So that would hopefully.
Can I say something with that? Because,
Certainly.
it's really interesting to me, because I find a lot of our schools, the earliest adopters, okay, of the Money EDU curriculum, were definitely ones that are interacting with employers on a regular basis. Because what I just heard from you, Leslie, was like, you get the gap. You're like, okay, we're doing this, we're producing students, but they're missing some critical skills when they get to the workforce. And so I just want to say kudos to you and all of our schools that have been those early adopters that are like, okay, it's really hard. Schools you have a lot of pressure on you for multiple reasons of what you can and cannot do, but really taking that stance and say, okay, we're going to give them the technical education, and we're going to make sure that they get financial and business acumen. So they're just that much more of a higher quality candidate when they get to those employers. And, just like you said, it's funny how much that topic of entrepreneurship comes up in these conversations, because so many, and we do surveys, they enter in, they want to be solo, and then they get the education, and we're not trying to sway them away from it, right? It's really just, here are the facts, and then make the decision. But they're getting their facts from sources that may or may not be telling them the full picture, i.e. social media and TikTok. And so it's really interesting to see how students are like, hey, maybe actually I can do really well if I work at an established company. And then that behooves all of us, because we make sure these candidates actually stay in the industry and they're not dropping off due to failure for lack of preparation, should they say they go into a suite, say, before they're actually ready to do so, right?
I think to that point, Aaron, like one of the things that I think that we've learned through the course of time is that, we all kind of come up through this industry and work through this industry, and this is the way it's always been done. We have a responsibility as education providers to say, listen, we can't fight this beast. We need to make sure that the students have the tools that they need to be successful if they do choose that option, to your point. So we can fight against it as much as we can and encourage them to think about a mentor and think about all that stuff. But there are folks that are very successful that that can go right into that sweet environment. And if they are, that solopreneur, that's it might be inherent in the gifts that they've been given, right? So why not develop that skill set? So yeah, so I think we have to harness all the tools that we have available to us to make sure that all students graduating, whatever their course is, that they're successful. So, but I want to say, like, honestly, Market College, one of the first that we work with that embrace that mentality. So congratulations to you. I think you've helped us to set the standard. So kudos to you and to all of your team for putting that together. But speaking of your team, can you talk a little bit about like how does your team incorporate the content into your curriculum? Like, how do you introduce it? When do you introduce it? Like how does it flow throughout your curriculum? And I guess the question is it the same? Have you the same way you rolled it out? Is it the same way now? I guess is I think the second part of that question.
For sure. So I'll kind of answer you backwards.
Okay.
We've always had a small business portion of our course through the Pivot Point curriculum. And it was traditionally right at the end of their program, last class, getting them ready to segue into the salon. And then when you introduced us to this program, I was like, whoa. I think we're missing an opportunity. We are leaving this way too late in the game. They need to be business mindful way before that. So we've moved it to our 4th class. Our program itself is about 10 months long. So we're in month 4. They've got their foundational cutting and styling skills. They've got color skills. And at this time, they've already had the opportunity to spend a week in a salon, a barbershop, or a spa.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, as a part of a co-op program. So they've got their foundational skills and they've been in the industry for 1 week to see what's out there. Then we introduce this program so that they have a good understanding of what our school looks like. They have a good understanding what the industry looks like so that they're able to better understand what the content is referencing. I find a lot of times as we are beauty professionals, we need to understand what this is relating to. We need that salon connection. And by putting it at month 4, they have the appreciation, they know where these skills are applying, and they can already start setting themselves financial goals for when they do leave us. A lot of our students have student loans, so they can start coming up with a plan, a budget, start thinking about their future, and start planning what it looks like after they leave Market College. So by just shifting it a little bit in the middle of their program, we're finding we're getting so much more out of our students. They're networking more, they're building better clientele, they're retailing better. Everything is just tenfold because they have an understanding and they're already business focused earlier on in their program.
I'm gonna be honest with you, and you're gonna get like tons of kudos today. But obviously, I was aware of your focus from a curriculum standpoint and reinforcing the curriculum. But I had no idea that your students actually go out and live the life. And so you have a truly, so congratulations to. I mean, it's really a unique focus. So I think that's great. I think a lot of people probably on the call are probably going to be like, wait a minute. I may need to reach out to Leslie a little bit and learn a little bit more about how this works. But between you listening to the salons and spas and barbershops, and then the experience with the salons and spas and barbershops, and then also that reinforcement of that real life, getting that real life reinforcement of the curriculum, that's really brilliant. That's fantastic. It's the first time I've actually heard a school incorporate it this way. So that's a really beautiful model. So yeah, you're walking the walk. So I love that.
Yeah. I think something that does help us, and it's obviously very specific to Market College, is every single human in our buildings, whether it's our head office team or our school team, is somehow in the beauty industry. I'm personally an alumni of Marco College. 40% of our team are alumni. So we've been there.
Yeah.
We've done it. We've been that new kid in the salon, nervous, scared, and the more tools we can give our students, the better. And financial literacy is just the most incredible tool that you can have. And it's over and above our expectations. And we're really loving the program, and we're super excited for our 2.0 as well.
I love that. Yeah, because you just launched 2.0 yesterday. So that's I just learned that. So how exciting is that? So maybe if there's time at the end of the call, we could talk about how 2.0 is a really fantastic enhancement to the program based on feedback from folks like you. So that's really, really, really great. Talk to me a little. One of the things I'm really interested in is one of the things, and I don't know if the same is true in Canada as it is here in the U.S. Obviously, most of us have at Pivot Point as well have been a part of the school business, and we understand the school business. One of the things I recognize about the school business, at least here in the States, is that an aesthetic student is very, very different than a cause student, and a barber student is very, very different than a cause and an aesthetic student. Like they all come from I feel like they almost come from different parts of their brain in terms of what motivates them and how education is consumed. Is there any variation on how you introduce the content and the product to those three different groups in your school?
There isn't variation on how we introduce it to them. It all falls within the same planning in their program. However, when we're delivering the content, we're obviously relating it more specifically to being in a barbershop or being in a spa. We find that our students, you're right, are very different depending on what program they're coming from. We find right now that our barbering students are like #1 for financial literacy. They want to know how to make save the money, be an entrepreneur, and they are ready to go. They are our #1 participants. They love the program. Our hairstyling program, we have a little bit of a mix of both. We have people who are more timid and maybe have not even thought about financial planning and financial literacy. And then we have those really big go-getters. And then in the spa side of things with our medical estheticians, a lot of them are still on that more traditional trajectory of wanting to work for somebody, having that mentorship, being a part of a corporation, being a part of a spa. So we do gear our teaching a little bit different to each group based on what they feel like their future path is. However, we do give all of the content, of course, because we want to open their minds to maybe something that they weren't thinking about. But yes, that's a little bit of the difference between our three groups that we have in our buildings.
That's very interesting. Yeah, one of the things that I always kind of wanted to do is do this national kind of exercise to say, what motivates a barber student, what motivates a cause student, what motivates an aesthetic student, and inevitably, I mean, the barber students are coming. A lot of barber students come in knowing how to cut hair, right? They already know they kind of learned from a mentor, or learned from somebody, but they're coming in to get their business license so that they can make money, serious money, and so so that lines beautifully in with. So if you have a barber program, 9 times out of 10, they're looking to maximize their wealth opportunities, and so I hadn't really thought about it that way until you brought it up, and that's really is the case, is that they're really focused in on the bottom line often. That's why they're there. Otherwise, they'd just be cutting hair in a kind of clandestinely in a shop somewhere, right? So that's really, really cool. That's really cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things that I learned yesterday that really, here's the thing. For the folks that are considering this content and considering adding this to the content, it's obvious you're thinking differently about the next generation of students, so I shouldn't be so surprised that there's all these creative things happening, because you're thinking about the next generation of education. But when someone comes out at beauty education with a new approach and from their heart, it makes me smile real big. One of the things that we learned yesterday, for the folks that were not on the call yesterday, is that the Jean Madeline Innovate Institute, they're based in the Philadelphia area in Pennsylvania, here in the States, and they do kind of like a final project, kind of like they're doing like it's almost like a final dissertation, if you will, of the collective learning that they took through the program. So they take the money by community program, and they build and they build and they build. And I think every school has this project where you create a concept salon and you build a salon out and that kind of thing. But what they did is they married those those two projects together. And not only do they build out this concept salon on how it's going to work, but they married out the whole process of the financial component of it as well. So that's their final project, which I thought, if I ever got back into the school business, that would be like the first thing idea that I'm going to steal. But is there anything really creative, like, and is anything that for the folks on the call that you were able to incorporate into the money program that kind of makes it beyond going to the obviously going to the salon or spa or shop space is obviously very creative, but like anything else that like might stimulate that creative bone in all of us that you guys are doing with the program?
Absolutely. So similar to the way they are doing a final project, we do a final project as well. They're building their own salon. They work with a partner or a small group, and they are presenting everything from price lists to rent to bills. We're making sure that they are checking comps in the area. They know exactly what rent is in our different communities that our schools are in, as well as to make it a little bit fun because we are more hands-on. They do a shoebox component where they do the floor plan for their
Nobody
salon.
hates that. Nobody hates that.
Nobody hates that, no.
Yeah.
Because they are hands-on, so they have these like, and you would be surprised how beautiful these items are. And they just have this like salon floor plan, and it's so creative. It's so nice to see. Just when you think you've seen everything you could possibly see, another student comes up with something super creative and incredible. And it's just amazing to see what they think the future is and what their future plans are, as well as it's really nice that we present to the rest of our classmates so that they can get a different idea, they can share ideas, they can understand why someone did something a particular way. So it's just a really nice discussion, appreciation for each other. And it's really nice. It's almost like a little baby melting pot to see what the future of our industry is going to look like.
Yeah. Listen, I don't care how old you are. When you get to do a project like that where you get to build something, that's the stuff that it brings you joy to create it, right? But it also brings you joy to witness it. So you're like you have a permanent smile plastered on my face right now because that's very exciting. I was talking about coming to visit soon. I haven't been to Toronto in a very, very long time since pre-pandemic, but next time I'm going to have to try to plan a visit around when they're presenting. So do the students actually present to each other?
Yes.
Wow. Well, that's also intimidating, right? So yeah.
It is. But we create opportunities for them to have open dialogue and work on those presentation skills, because so much of our job is to connect, and why not connect with your peers?
Yeah, for sure. Listen, if you could talk and you could speak to 30 of your cosmetology peers, you could probably get up and speak to anybody, right? So that's
Absolutely.
break through that. We're doing our team is doing exercise on Friday, and we're good at this, but even that kind of brings some anxiety and stress to say, hey, I had to present to the team. So I'll share with them that even the students at Marker College get to present to each other. So I'm sure they'll appreciate that as well. So very cool. So in terms of how this is facilitated, right? So I think this is one of the big topics of the week is I think that here down in the States, there every state has a different hour requirement and these kind of things. So sometimes we have to get flexible in terms of how the content is actually shared with the student. How do you present it? Is the entire content like kind of instructor led, or is there any part of it that's self-study? And if there is a part of it that's self-study, like which part of it would you say would be good to self-study?
So we've tried a bunch of different ways of delivering this content. Obviously, with the pandemic, everybody has become super savvy on delivering content online. And something like this is a great opportunity for myself to test out the way that we deliver content. So generally speaking, it is educator guided, where we'll give them independent study at the end of the day from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock to work on the content. We have done it all self-study. We have done it online. What we find when we either do self-study or online, we flip it to that at the end of the day from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. It is discussion led by educators.
Okay.
Yes. We generally, for us, do more so educator guided, as we have a very, very diverse group of students in our buildings. So we have a lot of students where English is not their first language, where this would be something that's a little bit more difficult. Or maybe this is the first time they're learning about taxes in Canada and different subject matters like that. So specific ones, we will definitely make more focus that it's educator led, but if it's something more like goal setting, that's when we would pick to have it more independent study. So we really cater to the group of students that we have in front of us, but we always make sure that we do have that educator available and that we have open discussions to make sure that everybody is following along and understanding the content.
Yeah, that's great. I love
Okay.
that approach. Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask 2 questions with that?
Certainly. But
Okay.
here's the thing. Here's what I'm fascinated about. These half hours go so very quickly.
I know.
So-
I'm like, oh my God, I wish I could sit with you more. And I have to tell you, Leslie, I've had 2 texts from members of my team on this call being like, that's brilliant. Love that. The dancing thing. So you are a hit. So I think you're really, part of it is we give you guys the curriculum and it's built out and it's, the content is solid, but how you take it to the next level and bring it to life is really, it's with every school. And so, we rely on that feedback to make updates such as 2.0, et cetera. But there was 2 things that you said, and now I hope I didn't just forget what they were. Okay, I know what they were. So number 1 was you've tested all the different methodologies. I have a very strong preference of ideally as minimal self-study as possible, because we all know, what it's like to go to college online versus to go in person. It's just different, especially if it's a topic that's maybe not second nature to someone. So how have you seen the differences, in terms of doing those different delivery? And my favorite part of the program, that's part 1, is the discussion and really making sure that we listen to how students reflect on these questions. So have your educators and team shared like some like eye-opening things about how students are having breakthroughs and ahas when they can actually have a peer discussion about this? So differences in delivery and then discussion was my long-winded questions that I was just asking.
Absolutely. So as we know, everybody does test differently. However, we do find when we are more educator-led, our students are scoring higher on their exams.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that they're getting more content in their brains, they're understanding things better, and that they're having these discussions. I think on the second part of that, when we're talking about discussions, we find the students are having the aha moments because they're bringing the content to life.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing off each other. They're like, oh my gosh, oh yeah, oh, I can relate to that. Oh, I've done that before. And they're building off each other and they're bringing the content to life. The content is our text, it's our baseline, but everybody bringing their own life experiences, especially our education team as well, because they've come from all different facets of the industry. It just really brings the content to life. And I think the most valuable thing that you can bring in any education is connecting it back to their own life, connecting it back to the industry, and just having that next level of understanding. And the discussions are huge for us with this program specifically, because again, finances are not something that everybody is super comfortable talking with and talking about. So when we're taking that kind of scariness away from it and we're just having an open conversation, we're really getting everybody to really open up, say what they're feeling, and it's just bringing the content and elevating it to the next level.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Listen, it's just because we do have a short window of time. I just want to say congratulations to you and to your team and to your students for embracing this, because those are the folks that are going to change the world. And we always say that a career in beauty education is a first choice career. And I think these are the kind of things that say out loud to anybody that this is the stuff that's going to take any doubt away from that. And you're doing the work to help our industry as a whole to get there. So congratulations to you. One last question for you. And if we have, we're at the moment, because I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Any advice that you have to give to someone that's considering CUNY on how your decision was made or how to implement it?
Absolutely. I think my advice is that it's definitely something that you need to add to your schools to elevate not only your school, but elevate the industry. Anytime we're investing in our students and giving them financial literacy, we're investing in the industry itself. When we're putting out successful students, we are continuing to grow our industry, and without our industry growing, then there's no students filtering back into our schools. So the success of the industry is the success of ourselves, and we want our students to be those success stories. There is no better marketing than a successful student. Brilliant. That is the best organic marketing you can have. And it is also a huge selling feature for our students that are coming in with their parents for a tour. And we are letting them know that we are teaching them financial literacy. We are setting them up for success. We are helping them plan to pay back those student loans, and that we are putting them on the right path to be successful in our industry. And it is a small investment for a huge return. So I would just say, you need it, get it, it's completely worth it. And again, everybody's a little bit nervous. My team was nervous about financial literacy, but they make it so easy. It's step by step. There's so many resources, and anyone can do it. So I would definitely absolutely add this to your program.
Yeah,
I did not pay her to say that. I did not pay her to say that. In fact, she's paying us.
Are you on a cloud, Erin? Maybe you are.
Thank you, Leslie.
I don't know. Yeah. Thank you, Leslie. Listen, we are 2 minutes over, but that was 2 minutes of fantastic information. I hope you all are enjoying this CUNY camp this week. I know that I'm enjoying it. I don't know if I've smiled this big all week, but I did a lot all week this long. So you guys are doing a great job. Congratulations to you, Leslie. I hope I get to visit you soon up in Toronto, and congratulations, and thanks for participating with us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for including Marka in this beautiful day. Thank you so much.